Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have been discussing about the soul from the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. So today we will understand something more about the soul. Krishna says, Dhirastattra na muhyati. A dhira, a sober person, a self-realized person, is not bewildered by the change of body at the time of death. So, one should know how the body is changing, especially at the time of death. How the soul, after leaving one body at the time of death, accepts another body. Now, to know this, it's not possible by any experimental method. It's only possible if we learn from the Supreme Lord Krishna as he explains in the Bhagavad-Gita. So we should remember that the soul is very tiny particle. The gross body, this external body, everyone can see. But inside this body there is another body, mind, intelligence, ego, subtle body, that we cannot see. Neither we can see the soul. The soul is even finer than that. So, in the Vedas, it is described what is the dimension of the soul. The Vedas describe Keshagra Shatabhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya Cha. What does this mean? If you take the Keshagra, Kesha means hair, Agra means the tip. Tip of the hair point, if you divide into 100 parts and take that 1/100th part and divide further into 100 parts, then that very tiny 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair point in size, that is the dimension of the soul. Now, as far as scientists are concerned, they say a point has no length and breadth, has no dimension, so to speak. But here the Vedas are describing that which is almost length and breadth, that point. If at all somebody could actually divide that into 10,000 parts, then one such very tiny part would be the dimension of the soul. So obviously it is not possible to perceive the soul by any of the ordinary methods. Therefore, it is said, you simply perceive there is soul based on the authority of the Vedas, based on the authority of the Supreme Lord Krishna describing this whole subject matter. Another example Srila Prabhupada gives, supposing there is some good fragrance and it is being carried by the air. You smell the air that is passing and you say, oh, very nice fragrance. But you cannot see the smell, neither you can see the carrier of the smell, the air. So only when it comes and contacts your nose, your instrument for smelling, then only you can get to know the smell. So therefore, many things are there like that which are subject to certain conditions and which are not perceptible by all the senses or not perceptible by our mind sometimes even. So this change of body at the time of death by the soul is also described by Krishna. We have to hear this description and we have to understand and we have to accept it as a fact. Now whatever is stated in the scriptures, in the Vedas, is 100% fact. It is the truth. It is the reality, because the source is Krishna. The source is the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, we hear the authoritative description in the Bhagavad-Gita. It is said the soul is changing bodies like dresses. Sometimes the soul has a human form of body, like we have just now, all of us, we have a human form of body. Sometimes the soul has a form of a cat or a dog or a tree or an aquatic or a demigod, a devata. Of course, we are not familiar with devatas in terms of having seen any devata, but devatas also have a particular type of body. They live in the higher planets and they are also having a particular form of body. So the same soul means the quality and the size of the spirit is the same, whichever body it inhabits. It is the same small tiny particle of spirit, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair point in size. That soul is actually the living force inside the body. However big or small the body may be, the living force is the soul. So this is the basic principle of spiritual understanding. Understanding that every person is the soul, not the body. And then if we understand the soul, it's important because by understanding what is soul, we can also understand God. How is that possible? Just like if there is a bag of rice, you take a few grains of rice and you see the few grains and understand what is the quality of rice in the bag. Similarly, if you understand the spirit soul inside this body, then you can understand God also. Of course, God is spiritual, but He is the supreme spirit. He is the unlimited spirit. He is the greatest spiritual person. So like that, you can understand God, but before that you have to first understand what is spirit. And now there are two ways of understanding. One is called the ascending process and other one is called the descending process. Aroha pantha, avaroha pantha. Now our process in the Vedic culture is called the descending process. That means we receive the perfect knowledge from the perfect source, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, it comes down. Just like Krishna first revealed this knowledge to Brahma, the first created being in the whole creation, in this whole universe. Then Brahma became enlightened and he revealed the same knowledge to his sons and disciples. Like Narada, he revealed to Narada. Narada became enlightened and Narada revealed to Vyasa. Like that, it is coming down. It's called descending, coming down from Krishna to the others. Generation after generation, it is coming down. The ascending process is the other way. Like people say that formerly there were people who did not know anything. Then they started trying to find out or ascertain what is this world, or what is the earth, or what is then the sky, whatever. So humanity, according to them, has been gathering more and more knowledge and making advancement, and like that they expect that by this process of gathering knowledge, accumulating knowledge over generations, gradually they will come to know more and more and more. But this process is prone to a lot of defects, because as I explained earlier, every human being has got 4 defects, 4 fundamental defects. So because of these defects, whatever knowledge we try to gather by our own endeavor, by our own efforts, by our own methods, by using our tiny mind or intelligence, by our imperfect senses, it is always going to be defective. Therefore, the ascending process cannot be helpful in knowing about spiritual subject matter. Therefore, the descending process is the proper method of getting spiritual knowledge, getting knowledge of the soul and God. Srila Prabhupada gives another example. Supposing there is some sound on the roof of the house where you're living. Now, you are not able to see what is happening on the roof, but sitting inside a room, you may conjecture or you may theorize, oh, the sound is due to some cat, or it's due to some bird, or due to some human being, or due to some wind blowing. You may theorize like that. You can go on speculating. But if there is a person present on the top of the roof, and that person comes down and tells you exactly what is the cause for that sound on the top of the roof, you just heard, and he also heard, and he was present right there. So that is perfect knowledge. That is not based on any speculation or theorizing or conjecturing or guessing. No. Similarly, the descending process is perfect knowledge given by one who knows, one who is the ultimate source. So, this perfect knowledge is there in the scriptures, and it is handed down by authoritative spiritual masters, and it is present it is explained in the Vedas also. Just like what is being told by Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita is there in the original Vedas, the Upanishads. In the Upanishads it is described, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. What does this mean? It means Nitya. Nitya means eternal. So God is eternal. God is one. Nitya, singular, one person. God is eternal. Nityanam is all of us, all the living beings are also eternal. Both God and all of us, both are eternal. We are actually a very, very tiny part of God. We are very, very tiny part of God, each one of us. And Chetanas Chetanana means God is conscious person, we are also conscious persons. Chetana means conscious. But even though we have this similarity of qualities, we are eternal and conscious persons. God is also eternal and conscious person. But the difference is Eko, the one eternal conscious person. God, one and only one God, is maintaining or is the maintainer of all the other living beings, all the other eternal conscious beings. So this difference exists in spite of the similarity. So this information is obtained from the Upanishads. So exactly what Krishna is telling, we are eternal, we don't, the soul is not changing, the body is changing, the body does not last forever, the soul is everlasting, always. So, the number of souls, number of living entities, living beings, is actually described as asankhya, countless. We cannot count how many are there. So many, billions, trillions, we can't count, we cannot count. So, therefore, the usage, we have to clearly note one and many, singular and plural. So, therefore, these living entities, living beings are having different forms of bodies. As I mentioned earlier, somebody could have, some of the souls have a human form body, some have a form of body of a cat or a dog or a worm or an insect or a bird or a reptile or a plant or a devata. So, in the scriptures again, it is described that there are different forms of bodies. 84 lakh types of bodies are there. That is also classified. Jalaja Navalakshani, 9 lakh varieties of aquatics are there in the water. Those living beings living in the water. So there are 9 lakh varieties. The varieties are 9 lakhs. It's not the number. In each variety there are several, huge number of such aquatics. But total number of varieties is 9 lakhs. Then Sthavara Laksha Vimshati, the plants and trees, the vegetable kingdom, different forms are 20 lakh forms. 20 lakhs. Then Kramayo Rudra Sankhyaakaha, the insects of different varieties, how many varieties of insects are there? They are 11 lakhs. So 9 lakh aquatic varieties, 20 lakh plants and trees varieties, and 11 lakh insect varieties. Pakshinam Dashalakshanam, 10 lakh varieties of birds. Then Pashavaha Trimshalakshani, the beasts, the four-legged animals, they are 30 lakhs, 30 lakhs, Trimshat. Then Chatur Lakshani Manushaha, human beings are 4 lakhs, 4 lakh varieties. These 4 lakh varieties of human beings is what is of interest to us. Most of the varieties of humans are uncivilized people. So civilized human beings are very, 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 very few. It is very easily understandable. if you dig earth, then in just 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, 1 cubic foot, how many millions of worms will be there, or small microbes will be there, or very, very tiny insects will be there. We can't even count. So, compared to all other types of bodies or living beings in different lower species, lower forms of life, human beings are very, very few. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how the one Supreme Lord is actually the maintainer of all the countless living beings. To help us understand this, Prabhupada is telling that we are very, very few compared to the other living beings, other forms, but we have got so many economic problems. And especially in the modern age, we are very busy trying to develop our economic condition. Always busy. But the animals, the insects, the birds, the aquatics, they have no problem. They are not starving. They are not having any scarcity of food. Each and every one of them, they are getting whatever their needs. Just like you take an elephant. It eats at a time maybe 50 or 100 kilo. But there are millions of elephants in the African jungle. They are getting whatever their need is, whatever their requirement. A tiny ant may be there, but that ant is also getting its tiny small requirement of food. So every living being is getting the food provided by the Supreme Lord, the one and only Supreme Lord. It's only in human society that because we have completely forgotten God, we have created so many problems for ourselves. None of the other species, they have any problem for their maintenance, basic needs, especially food. They don't have any scarcity. But we have scarcity, or we have some problem, or we have some difficulty, or we have to do hard work in some factory or industry or some business, something like that. Even for our basic needs to be met with, we are forced to actually work so hard. So actually, we forget the fundamental truth that actually our maintenance is taken care of by God. God has provided. But if somebody becomes godless, if somebody forgets God, then they're going to face a lot of problems. So therefore, this knowledge is knowledge about ourselves, and especially knowledge about God, especially as it is revealed in the Bhagavad-Gita, is very, very important. For all the human beings, it's very important. So, we should understand we are eternal as spirit soul. We are changing our body. But change of body also, to understand this change of body, we should remember there are two kinds of bodies. One is the gross body, other one is subtle body. What is the difference? This gross body is an external covering for the subtle body. The subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. It is the subtle body which is of a particular mentality. Just like, to give an example, a dog has got a dog's mentality. A cat has got a cat mentality. So, a dog behaves like a dog. Because of that mentality only, the dog has got a particular external gross body of that particular shape, of that particular type. Its eyes, its ears, its nose, its tongue, its sense of touch. Everything is suited for the dog. The dog's body, external gross body, is suited for the dog mentality. Similarly, we should understand even our own body, the human body also, it is suited for the human mentality. The human mentality. So, if we change body at death, then the next body we are going to get, the gross body we are going to get, we actually leave this body. Generally, we leave with our subtle body. We have to leave behind this gross body at the time of death, but we go with our subtle body, our mind, intelligence and ego, to another gross body. So that next gross body, which type of gross body we are going to get? 84 lakh species are there, types of gross bodies. So which one are we going to enter? Which type of body we are going to get next? That depends on what is our state of mind at the time of death. If somebody has developed a dog mentality, they're going to get a dog's body in the next life. If somebody has got a human mentality, they'll get a human body. If somebody has developed a godly mentality, they'll get the body of a devata. And somebody has developed spiritual mind or spiritual mentality or spiritual nature, they will go to Krishna. So, the change of body is very, very vital, very crucial. It depends on what type of mentality we develop in this life, and it takes time to develop a particular type of mentality. What type of activities we perform, what type of knowledge we actually culture, what type of people we associate with. All this is going to determine the type of mentality we develop, and that mentality which we have developed by the time death comes, exactly according to that mentality we're going to get the next body, change the body. So, by all this can be understood by hearing properly and carefully from the proper source. Hearing from the proper source, the actual knowledge can be very nicely understood, the specific knowledge. Particularly, it is stressed that the topmost authority who can give us this knowledge is Krishna himself. So, this Krishna consciousness movement is trying to propagate that you hear from the supreme authority, Krishna. And Krishna has personally spoken the Bhagavad-Gita to Arjuna. And through Arjuna, Krishna is instructing all of us. So, try to hear from Krishna. Krishna is the topmost authority, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as accepted by all other great saintly persons, great sages, great acharyas. Our Vedic culture is completely based on the authority of the acharyas. The acharyas in the past, they have been mentioned as great sages like Narada, Vyasa, Asita, Devala. They are all the sages from the past. Then in the immediate past, in the Middle Ages, say 1500 years back, acharyas like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbaraka, great acharyas like that have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like this, all the acharyas, they are actually accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the Bhagavad-Gita, particularly it is said, if you want to learn about the science of the soul, you want to learn about the soul, you have to perform what is called as Acharyopasanam. You have to approach the Acharya to actually learn about this science of the soul. Even in the Vedas it is said, Acharyavan Purusho Veda, which means one who has accepted the Acharya, under the guidance of the Acharya, one can actually learn the Vedas. One can properly learn the Vedas if one approaches an Acharya and under the guidance of the Acharya gets the knowledge, proper understanding of the Vedas. So therefore, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, the Bhagavad-Gita. Now when Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad-Gita, Vyasadeva was hearing Krishna. Vyasadeva was hearing Krishna. And Vyasadeva recorded whatever Krishna instructed Arjuna, Vyasadeva recorded in the Mahabharata. The portion of the Mahabharata in which Vyasadeva has recorded Krishna's instructions to Arjuna is called the Bhagavad-Gita. So Bhagavad-Gita is just a very small portion of the Mahabharata, but it is the essence of the entire teachings of the Mahabharata. So Vyasadeva has recorded that, and from Vyasadeva, through what is called as a parampara system, Srila Prabhupada is receiving this knowledge, this understanding of Bhagavad-Gita. It is not just that the text of the Bhagavad-Gita or the text of the speech which Krishna made to Arjuna, only that is enough. No, we have to get the understanding also. We have to get the understanding, proper understanding of what did Krishna mean when he says, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovananjara. This is spoken by Krishna to Arjuna. What did he mean by this? So that understanding also we have to receive from the proper source, the proper understanding. So that understanding Srila Prabhupada is getting from his Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His Guru is receiving from his Guru. Like that it traces back to Vyasadeva, who actually heard from Krishna. He heard Krishna speaking to Arjuna. So that way it is knowledge which is perfect knowledge coming in the descending process, coming through the disciplic succession. We say parampara, the disciplic succession is coming. So this is not something which is the author's opinion or author's viewpoint. Now the Bhagavad-Gita we refer to, the version or the translation we refer to is given by Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Now Prabhupada is not giving his personal understanding. No, he is presenting us the knowledge as it is handed down in the parampara. So therefore, nothing is Prabhupada's personal viewpoint or personal opinion or personal viewpoint. No, it is actually what is explained by Krishna, and the same understanding is coming down. Let me take a few questions. These are some questions from yesterday. Why is it said spirit soul and not just soul? Soul means, the word soul is used for translating the Sanskrit word Atma. Atma means the self. Atma means the self. So when he says soul, to distinguish the soul as the real self, like people generally think, when I say myself, it means I think I am this body. I am this body. I am this body. But actually, Krishna is telling, I am not this body, I am soul. Soul is within the body. Now, spirit soul, because this body is made up of matter, it is a material body. The soul is not a material soul, it is spiritual soul or spirit soul. Spirit means something which is of a different quality, different nature. It's completely different. In a future discourse, I will describe the qualities of the soul that Krishna describes in the later verses of the second chapter. So the qualities of the soul are completely different from the qualities of this material body. So one difference we already noted, that the body dies or perishes, or body deteriorates, whereas the soul does not deteriorate. You don't die, you don't become old, you don't become diseased, you don't change. You means this soul. So that soul is described as spirit soul to help us understand it is of a different quality or nature, spiritual quality, spiritual nature. While death is the process of changing the next question, the old, worn out, useless body to a new one, how can we explain when people die young? Nice question. When it is said that a person changes body when the existing body becomes old and useless, that is the normal change of body. Generally, a person changes body at the time of death to a completely new body when the existing body becomes old and useless. But there are instances sometimes when a person dies untimely. It's called akala mrityu. Death comes before the full lifespan is over. So this akala mrityu example is given in the Mahabharata of the Kauravas. The Kauravas died untimely because they insulted the most chaste lady, Draupadi. So somebody does very grievous sinful activities, then their duration of life in this body is decreased. It's also possible that somebody is able to increase the lifespan or the duration of life in a particular body by doing some tapasya or by getting the blessings of a very empowered personality, saintly person, a great saintly person can bless somebody to have a longer duration of life. So that is possible. One of the reasons is why somebody dies young is akala mrityu. Second reason is somebody's duration of life that is fixed at the time of birth. Everybody's duration of life generally is fixed at the time of birth. So the duration of life itself may not be 100 years, maybe just 12 years or 10 years or 50 years. That is because the duration of life is based on our past karma. Everybody will not be given the full duration of life. Just like this, ordinarily this human body, the maximum duration of life is 100 years. But somebody may not have that 100 years as the duration which they got at the time of birth. Now, these are all fixed by higher authorities. We cannot choose how long we want to stay in the body or what kind of duration we have. No, we don't choose. Neither we choose the body, nor we choose the type of body, nor we can choose the duration now. So that's another reason why somebody dies young. So like this, there are some rare cases. Of course, it's not common. Rare cases where somebody dies young. Otherwise, generally people die when their existing body becomes old and old. If we are changing our bodies during our lifetime in a particular body, how is that we remember our childhood days but not our past lives? Good question. We are able to remember not exactly everything about our childhood, or something we may remember, yes. But why do we forget everything about our past life or past lives? That's because at the time of changing the body, we undergo a very, very traumatic experience called death. In my previous life, when I had to leave the body at the time of death, I am suddenly separated from all my possessions, my near and dear ones, my body itself. I have to suddenly leave the body. Death comes always suddenly. So that traumatic experience of having to suddenly leave the body, and also what happens to me, where am I going, what is my future, I do not know. So that's another traumatic experience. Then I enter another mother's womb and remain for 9 months. If it is a human form of body, the soul will remain in that mother's womb for 9 months. Out of these 9 months, 7 months the soul is unconscious. 7th month, when the consciousness comes to the living being within the mother's womb, then the living being experiences so much of pain, so much of trouble. It is like an airtight sac, the mother's womb, and so many worms are there, secretions are there, acids are there, mucus is there, so many things are there, and it is very, 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 very uncomfortable. It is very painful, and the worms are biting the tender flesh of the child, of the infant embryo inside the mother's womb. So this is another traumatic experience till the child comes out of the mother's womb. So these traumatic experiences actually are the cause for us to completely forget about our past lives. It gets erased, completely erased. That's how we don't remember anything of our past life. Thank you very much, Hari.